Welcome to Rise Untold, where the stories behind the spotlight come alive. Did you know that behind the glitz and glamour of Hollywood's golden age, there's a darker side that's rarely talked about? Sunset Boulevard, the 1950 classic, is more than just an old film. It's a window into the untold stories and harsh truths of the Hollywood dream. The movie's legacy is fascinating, but it wasn't always clear that it would even become a classic. It faced so many obstacles, from creative clashes to doubts about its tone. It's easy to forget just how controversial this movie was when it was first released and how much it pushed the boundaries of what was acceptable in mainstream cinema. If you've ever watched Sunset Boulevard and thought, wow, there's got to be more to this, you're not alone. A lot of people watch this film for the first time and feel like they've just scratched the surface. And that's because the story behind the making of this film is just as compelling as the movie itself. Today, we're diving into a new book that takes us behind the scenes of this iconic film, revealing all the secrets and drama that went into its making. Trust me, if you think you know everything about Sunset Boulevard, you're in for a surprise. The movie didn't just magically come together. There were so many things that had to happen before the cameras even started rolling. The book ready. For my close-up, the making of Sunset Boulevard and the dark side of the Hollywood dream digs deep into these stories, showing us how much work, sweat, and heart went into creating a film that would eventually become a classic. And this behind the scenes look isn't just about the glamorous moments. It's also about the personal struggles, the fierce egos, and the challenges that the people behind the film had to face. The story begins with Gloria Swanson, the lead actress who played Norma Desmond. By the time Sunset Boulevard came around, Swanson wasn't the star she once was. In fact, she was almost forgotten in Hollywood. She had been one of the biggest stars of the silent film era, but as Hollywood transitioned into the sound era, she found herself pushed aside. The new generation of stars, like Joan Crawford and Bette Davis, were taking over, leaving Swanson's name in the dust. By the time Sunset Boulevard came into play, Swanson had been out of the spotlight for years, and no one believed she could make a successful comeback. But she didn't let that stop her. When she heard about the role of Norma Desmond, she saw something in the character that spoke to her on a personal level. Norma Desmond was a woman who once had everything: fame, wealth, and adoration, but who was now alone, forgotten by the world. She was living in the past, reliving the glory days when she was a star. Swanson saw herself in that character, and she knew that she had to play her. But getting that role wasn't easy. At first, the studio didn't even want to consider her for the part. They thought she was too old, too out of touch with the industry to take on such a big role. But Swanson was persistent. She lobbied for the role, and finally, after much negotiation, she got it. This moment was a huge turning point in Swanson's career. It wasn't just a comeback, it was a chance to prove that she still had what it took to be a star. But her path wasn't easy. She had to fight for her position in the film, not only against the studio's doubts, but also against the expectations of the public. At the time, people weren't ready to accept the idea of a past-his-prime star returning to the limelight. They didn't want to see aging stars trying to hold on to the past. They wanted fresh faces, new talent. But Swanson didn't care about public opinion. She knew that if she could just get the chance to play Norma Desmond, she would be able to show everyone that she was still a force to be reckoned with. Then there's Billy Wilder, the director, who was known for his perfectionism. And trust me, that perfectionism paid off. Wilder was a genius, and the way he directed Sunset Boulevard was nothing short of spectacular. But did you know that he almost didn't cast William Holden as Joe Gillis, the film's leading man? Imagine Sunset Boulevard without him. It's hard to picture, right? But that's exactly what almost happened. Wilder had initially considered other actors for the role, including actors who were more established, but something about Holden stood out to him. Holden was a relatively new face at the time, but he had a charm and a depth that Wilder felt was perfect for Joe Gillis. But still, Wilder wasn't entirely convinced at first. There were doubts, and there was tension on set as they tried to figure out who would fill the roles that would bring this film to life. Ultimately, Wilder made the right choice. Holden's performance was nothing short of brilliant. He played the cynical, struggling screenwriter with such depth that it was impossible to look away from him when he was on screen. His chemistry with Swanson's Norma Desmond was electric, and that's what made the movie so captivating. If it weren't for Holden's understated yet powerful performance, the film wouldn't have had the same impact. What's even more fascinating is the way this film was crafted. Wilder didn't just rely on good actors and a decent script. He relied on his ability to capture the essence of Hollywood itself. Sunset Boulevard isn't just a movie about a has-been star trying to reclaim her past. It's a film about the broken dreams of everyone involved in making it. The people on screen and behind the camera were all trying to hold on to something that was slipping away. Whether it was Swanson trying to reclaim her former glory, Wilder trying to make a name for himself, or Holden trying to navigate a changing Hollywood, everyone involved had their own personal struggles. And that struggle is reflected in the film's themes, making it even more powerful. But it wasn't just about the actors. The book reveals the gritty behind-the-scenes drama that many didn't know about. It exposes the struggles that went on during production, the personal battles, and the way the film mirrored the dark reality of Hollywood life. The stars may have seemed untouchable, but they were just as vulnerable as the rest of us. And that's what made Sunset Boulevard so compelling. It wasn't just a story about a woman trying to reclaim her past. It was a story about the price of fame and the cost of ambition. Every character in the movie represented a different side of the Hollywood dream, and their fates were a reminder of how fleeting that dream could be. The making of Sunset Boulevard faced challenges, reflecting Hollywood's darker side in the late 1940s and 50s. As the studio system crumbled, roles for aging actors became scarce, and the film highlighted the harsh reality of an industry where the dream was fading, replaced by a much harsher truth that what's incredible is how much this movie mirrored the lives of the people involved. Take Gloria Swanson, for example. She had been one of the biggest stars of the silent film era, but by the time Sunset Boulevard came around, she was struggling to stay relevant. The film's script wasn't just written for her character, Norma Desmond. It was almost as if it was written for Swanson herself. She knew what it felt like to be overlooked, to be cast aside by the very industry that had once adored her. And that personal experience gave her performance an authenticity that made it unforgettable. It wasn't just a role for her. It was a chance to show the world that she wasn't done yet. But here's something a lot of people don't know. The movie almost didn't happen at all. Billy Wilder was a risk-taker, but even he had his doubts. The script was considered too dark, too harsh for mainstream audiences. And some of the actors didn't believe in the story either. But Wilder, determined to tell the truth about Hollywood, pushed forward, and eventually, the movie became a masterpiece. Billy Wilder didn't just cast actors for their roles. He chose those who had lived through similar struggles. William Holden, a relatively new face at the time, brought depth and charm to Joe Gillis, balancing perfectly with Swanson's Norma Desmond. Their partnership was raw, captivating, and tragic. Sunset Boulevard brilliantly explores fame's fleeting nature, epitomized by the iconic line, "I am big, it's the pictures that got small." It reflects how Hollywood discarded aging stars as the studio system crumbled. The film reveals that fame is temporary, and even the brightest stars are vulnerable to its inevitable decline. The film's brilliance lay in its meticulous script revisions, pacing, and technical mastery. From the cinematography to the haunting music, every detail worked together to create a visually stunning and emotionally gripping experience. Sunset Boulevard remains one of cinema's greatest films, revealing the harsh truths of fame and Hollywood's dark realities. The book, Ready for My Close-Up, offers a behind-the-scenes look at its making, uncovering untold stories and the sacrifices that brought this masterpiece to life. So, what do you think? Does this give you a new perspective on one of Hollywood's most iconic films? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think about the making of Sunset Boulevard and all the drama that went on behind the scenes. And if you want to dive deeper into Hollywood's golden age, check out our video on Casablanca next. We'll be looking at another iconic classic, and trust me, you won't want to miss it. If you enjoyed this behind-the-scenes look at Sunset Boulevard, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe for more movie magic, and hit that bell so you never miss another Hollywood deep dive. See you in the next one.